This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
This Squiz Kids Q&A is brought to you by Swysh. Swysh provides everyday Aussies with personalised video messages from their favourite sports stars, like Josh Dunkley. Check them out at heyswysh.com.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello there and welcome to a very special Squiz Kids Q&A, part of our ongoing series of interviews with people in the news where you, the kids of Australia, get to ask the questions. I'm Bryce Corbett. Today we're delighted to welcome to the Squiz Kids hot seat one of the nicest blokes in the AFL, Josh Dunkley. A midfielder with the Western Bulldogs, Josh was born in Sydney to Swans legend Andrew Dunkley before moving with his family to Gippsland in Victoria and playing junior footy there. In his first season with the Bulldogs, Josh was part of the team that took home the grand final trophy. He's currently nursing a shoulder injury, which is lucky for us because it means he has time to take the Q&A hot seat and answer questions you lot have sent in. Josh, welcome to Squiz Kids.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome, mate. Now, I have to ask, how is the shoulder injury coming along? Now, you're missing being out there on the paddock.
Yeah, I've missed it ever since day one. It's coming along nicely though. I had surgery 3 weeks ago, and yeah, really, progressing with my rehab and watching the boys is tough on the sidelines, but it's exciting to see them winning, and hopefully we can continue that later on in the year and play some finals again.
It must be tough. I mean, you guys are currently second on the ladder. Could this be the year the Bulldogs go all the way again to the final?
It's hard to say, to be honest. Like right now, it's round 9 or round 10, and we're going okay at the moment. But there's been teams previously in the history of the game that have really set back from here and not continued that form. So we've got to keep progressing well and put one foot in front of the other and train well and just keep the standards high. And hopefully that holds us in good stead.
Excellent. Now, we've had a flood of questions from kids all over Australia. Are you ready to jump in?
Yes, I am. I'm really excited about this.
All right, let's do it. And the first question comes from Class 3-4 Blue at North Wagga Public School. And they ask, if you had any advice for people wanting to play AFL, what would it be?
Oh, my advice would be probably just to really enjoy your footy, especially as a young kid growing up. I just look back on what I did, and I played a variety of sports and try to, cross over and play different things and learn different tricks. And I think for me, that was probably the biggest thing that's helped me these days. Like you hear a lot about basketballers that are playing footy at the moment, but I did a variety of different things, and it really does help, like hand-eye coordination, all those little things. Even something like table tennis is good fun to do. We still do it at the club now, so just to do different little things is really important, and obviously enjoy playing footy.
So what other sports did you do when you were younger?
I did a lot. I did basketball, badminton, tennis, cricket, table tennis, squash. I actually even did ballet, which is a little bit of a secret of mine, when I was about 11 years old, so You've heard it here first.
How did that come to pass? Did you have an older sister? That's often the way it happens.
Yeah, so my older sister was doing ballet at the time, and Dad actually brought it up because James Hird did it when he was a young kid, and I think even when he was playing AFL footy, so for flexibility and stuff, it was really important. And I actually think that it's held me in good stead today because flexibility is so important in our game. When you pull up sore and being able to stretch and recover is really important. So
do you still remember? Have you still got any ballet moves up your sleeve?
Oh, I've probably got a couple, but I wouldn't get them out. That's for sure. Now there's probably some videos in the archives that you'd be able to see, but I wouldn't pull too many out now. That's for sure.
Now we have a question from Enzo in Canberra, and he asks,
Hi Josh, my name is Enzo. I am 9 years old and I'm from Canberra. My question is, how much training do you do each day?
We do a fair bit. We're pretty much like school, like 8 till 4 most days of the week. We get 2 days off a week. One of those days is obviously playing. So, you probably wouldn't classify it as a day off, but most of the days, we train 8 till 4. We're doing a variety of different things, skills out on the track, running, fitness work, weights, injury prevention, which is like band work and core and stuff like that, and then a lot of touch as well inside under the roof on the green floor, and with the coaches we're constantly studying our game and learning how we can improve each week. So there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of meetings, a lot of things that you enjoy and really embrace, but it is kind of like school, to be honest.
And do you have to be careful about what you're putting into your body for fuel as well, the sort of food you eat?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's the only really day that you can treat yourself, as some might say, is probably the game day after the game, because you've used so much energy and, sometimes you lose 2 to 3 kilos on the field of just fluids. They say that you can eat pretty much whatever you like after the game and re-energise and hopefully recover as good as you can. So that's probably one of the days that you look forward to as a footballer each week, because you get to treat yourself and maybe have an ice cream or, go and get some McDonald's every now and then. It's just, it varies. But yeah, most of the time it's, I suppose you probably call it a 95% diet that's really healthy, and then a 5% that's probably not.
Excellent. Let's go to your home state, Victoria now, where Charlie from St Francis of the Fields in Bendigo has a question. Over to you, Charlie.
Hi Josh, my name's Charlie. I'm 12 years old and I'm from Bendigo. My question for you is, who's your role model?
That's a good question. My role model growing up was actually Scotty Pendlebury. So to play against him these days is quite cool, and I used to look up to him as a young kid because he was from Gippsland, where I grew up, and I played footy at Sale Football Club, and that was probably that was his home club, so he'd come back every now and then, and when I was younger, he'd ask me to come along and have a kick with him, and it was pretty special to be able to do that. But also guys like, I was a Swans supporter obviously because of Dad playing there, so guys like Goodsy and Josh Kennedy when he got traded there, and guys like that, Jude Bolton, all those, Craig Bolton, Crouchy, all those, Barry Hall, guys like that used to run around and play really well for the Swans were probably my favourites.
Now, they say that the first team that you ever barrack for is the one that you never, ever really secretly give up on barracking for. Are you still a Swans fan?
It's a good question. I'm not too sure. Like, I always take an interest in how they're going because it was just such my childhood was pretty much all about Sydney. And then you get drafted to the Doggies and, you build those connections there. But I do.
I feel like you're being diplomatic, Josh.
Yeah, no, I do. I reckon I do have a little, soft spot for him. But when we come
There's
up
a
against
little bit
them,
of red and white in there somewhere.
Yeah, probably. I think you can't hide that. And guys, I think guys would have similar stories as they grew up, and like Richmond supporters or Hawthorn supporters or whatever it might be, that you do have a little soft spot in there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now here's a question from Charles in Graceville and Brizzy, who asks,
Hi Josh, my name is Charles. I am 9 years old and I am from Graceville. My question is, what do you tell yourself after losing a game?
Yeah, very interesting question. It's a tough one because the game is made up of so many moments. So you can't, early days when I first started playing, it was, oh Jesus, that mistake might have been my fault, or I lost us the game there. But nowadays it's all about the team and how you bond together, and I think that after a game and when you lose, it's very tough to process everything straight away. So I don't tend to think about too much straight away. I let it settle in, and maybe the next day reflect. That's probably the best way to process it. So initially I wouldn't think about too much, but after that it's all about reflecting on the game and little things that you could have done better as a team.
So it's about focusing on how you could improve, but not being too hard on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't, no one's perfect out there on the field, and everyone's going to make mistakes. So you just focus on little things that you can improve, and sit down with the coaches throughout the week after the game and process it, and then move on to the next.
Yeah, good advice. Now here's a good follow-up question from 9-year-old Gus from Ainslie in Canberra, who adds that he's a Richmond fan, but he doesn't hold your Bulldogs status against you. And Gus's question is,
Hi Josh, my name is Gus. I'm 9 years old and I play for the Ainslie Footy Club in Canberra. My question is, do you have any pre-game rituals or superstitions?
I have a few. I don't know really rituals. It's more just things that I do. I always like to go for a walk the morning of with my dog, Archie, little cavoodle.
Yep.
Go and grab a little coffee down at the same cafe I go to every game day, which is just around the corner.
Nice.
And then...
And do you get the same coffee, like the
same order? Yep, every time.
Does it matter if it's a different barista?
No, nothing like that. I don't ask them to get that barista in on that day and that night or whatever it might be. But things like that, like you just become, as I mentioned before, like it's a creature of habit, and because it's so routine, it just becomes part of your nature. And yeah, like a coffee, and then I have eggs on toast. So the food's pretty similar every time. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I get to the ground, it's not. I don't really have a routine because things can change so quickly. Like you might arrive 2 hours before the game. The next time you might arrive an hour and a half just because of traffic or whatever it might be. So
right.
It's everything changes, so it's hard to really have rituals and pre-game superstitions. But
you don't like have a lucky pair of socks or a lucky pair of undies?
Nah, I don't. I used to, but then I sort of moved away from that because I felt like it was a bit unrealistic.
And you kept getting bigger, and the undies didn't grow with you.
You couldn't wear the same ones.
Moving on to the next question, and it comes from Josh and Benji. This is a double-header question.
Hi, Josh. My name is Josh. I am 7 years old and I'm from Melbourne. My question is, what was the best tip you were taught when you were little that made you a really good player now?
My name is Benji and I am 5 years old. I am from Melbourne. My question is, how can I be really accurate when I kick for goal?
Yeah, right. It's a great question from the boys. The advice, tips that Mum and Dad gave me throughout my childhood probably were, as I mentioned before, to enjoy myself, but also Mum and Dad were really big on making sacrifices. We lived in the country in Yarram, a small town called Yarram, so it was about 2.5 hours away from Melbourne where I played most of my footy, and they made a lot of sacrifices for us kids to drive us down, 2.5 hours up and then 2.5 hours back, so 5-hour round trips. And
wow.
We had to, obviously sacrifice a lot too, friendship groups and schools and things like that where, your mates might be catching up on the weekend and you can't go because you've got to go and play footy or go to a training session or whatever it might be. So that's probably the biggest thing that I learned from Mum and Dad was just to make sacrifices at that time. And as hard as it was, I remember sitting there some days and just being shattered that I couldn't join my mates just to go and see them. And outside of school, it was very tough. But now I look back and I'm very grateful for what Mum and Dad did for us, and I'd be forever in debt to them, these days, because, they made sacrifices too, and it's massive that all us kids have got to where we are now.
Yeah.
And the second part of the question, how to kick accurately for goal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably not the best person to ask because I'm not very accurate myself, but Bevo always talks about momentum throughout your kick. So when you're kicking for goal, you get a run up and then you kick the ball, but you've got to take another couple of steps after that and really keep your... And then Tory Dixon, who was a very good set shot for goal for the Doggies, used to always say to keep your head down and just kick the ball. Like, don't think about it too much, just kick it, because in the field, you're just kicking the ball on instinct. So he just kept it as simple as possible and just kicked the goal. So I wouldn't try and overcomplicate things. Just have a couple of things in your mind that you want to do, and hopefully it goes straight.
There you go. Good advice. Some great kicking advice from Josh Dunkley there. Now, before we get stuck into a few more questions, you might have heard us mention this podcast is in partnership with Swysh. So, what in the world is Swysh? It's only the perfect place to go if you're after a present for that person in your life that has everything. Especially if you think they'd like to receive a personalised video message from their favourite sports star. Swysh brings together Australia's biggest sporting names, from AFL to NRL, netball to basketball, rugby union to football. If they're big in the sporting world, they're on Swysh. And all of them just waiting to fire off a custom-made shout-out to someone you love. The other week was the Fox's birthday. He loves Brian To'o from the Penrith Panthers. Imagine his face when he woke up on his birthday to a video of Brian singing Happy Birthday. And the best bit? Part of the proceeds from every Swysh video goes to charities like Starlight and Variety. Check it out at heyswysh.com. That's Swysh with a Y. There's a link to their website in today's episode notes, and as promised, a special Swysh discount code for Squiz Kids, which you'll find in today's episode notes. Now, let's scoot across to the other side of the nation to the lovely town of Albany, where Katie from the Year 3 class of Albany Primary School has a question.
Hi Josh, my name is Katie. I am 7 years old and I'm from Albany, Western Australia. My question is, who do you think is the best AFL player?
Ooh, awkward.
Yeah, the best AFL player, well, I'd probably say, I'd be biased and say Marcus Bontempelli's one of the best, and Adam Trelaw's another one that we got across this year who's been really good for us, and we've got a few good players, Jack McRae, Tom Liberatore, that are really good at the moment. But I think, you look at the AFL and there's so many good, great players out there, like Dusty Martin, everyone's talking about at the moment, can just tear a game apart like that. And I always look back and, think of Gary Ablett's days when he was dominating for Gold Coast and Geelong, and how good a player he was on both sides of the ball, both offense and defense. So it's a tough one. Like, I think Dusty's, on flair and spark and just natural instinct, he's probably the best in the game. But when you look at the overall game, you've got to say someone like Bont is a very good prototype for one of the best players in the game at the moment.
Now, here's an interesting question from Sammy, who's in Class 3-4B at Abbotsford Public School in Sydney.
Hi Josh, my name is Sammy and I'm 9 years old and I'm from Abbotsford Public School. My question is there any hobby that you do that is not AFL, and why do you like it?
I do a few things. I actually really like to cook. So every night or most nights when I'm not out and about for dinner or something like that, I'll be home cooking in the kitchen, and I just like to do a variety of different things. Will Minson actually taught me how to make a fish curry when I was my first year at the footy club. So I like to pull that one out every now and then. You just make everything from scratch. It takes a good couple of hours.
You make the curry paste from scratch?
Yeah. So that was one thing that he taught me. Yeah, so it was pretty cool to obviously learn that. But now, 4, 5, 6 years later, I'm still doing it. And so he was actually a really big influence on me early days, and taught me a lot of different things, and that was one of them. So I really do like to cook, and I feel like it takes my mind away from footy, which is great.
Are we talking like MasterChef kind of potential? Or
this has been brought up, but I'll probably steer clear of MasterChef. I'm not that good, but I've done a few cooking videos for the footy club last year, and I might do a couple more this year, so that might be interesting. It'll be good fun.
And is this a potential kind of play for a career after footy? You can see yourself in a kitchen or on a cooking show? It's
a good question. I don't really think I'd be a chef. I'd probably just be more like, I'd do guest appearances. I'll just go and do one day where I just go down to... But I'd love to have a cafe or a restaurant, something like that, where you can go in and, show your face and do some cooking. Yeah. Because I'm really interested in that area and studying business management as well. So... It's a nice little hobby of mine.
Very good. And that's an interesting point, isn't it? I know lots of kids, and my son included, has aspirations to play sport professionally. And I'm always saying as a dad, that's great, but you kind of want to have something to fall back on. Is that important as a sports person?
Yeah, absolutely. Our footy club is really big on making sure that we do something outside of football, and we have, say you have 10 years in the game or you have 3 years in the game, you don't know how long it's going to be. So the sooner you get into it, as a first year player, we were studying straight away. We were doing some courses and that we want to tick off and learn different things. So it's very important because you don't know when your time's going to end. Like for myself, I'm out at the moment with a shoulder injury that's going to be 12 to 16 weeks on the sideline, but there's knees, there's ankles, there's heaps of different things that can go wrong. So it's really important to be able to do things outside of football and learn different tricks of the trade, because as I mentioned, it's tough to, and your time will come to an end at the end of the day. So you got to learn from that and hopefully be ready for retirement.
Well, mate, you sound like you've got your head very firmly on your shoulders, and wishing you the best of luck. But sadly, that's all we have time for today. Let's give Josh a big round of applause for braving the Squiz Kids hot seat. Josh, you've been a legend. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. It was great fun.
Now, before you go, as promised, we have a prize for the best question asked of Josh today. And the prize is a personalised video message from Josh, proudly brought to you by Swysh. All right, Josh, it's up to you to decide who the winner is.
Yeah, I think it's ironic, but I think Josh, one of the brothers, Josh and Benji, Joshy had the best question, and I thought, the advice from your parents is very important. So make sure you listen to your close ones and your family, and they'll steer you in the right direction. Because as I mentioned in that question, or after that question, that was a very special moment for me and something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, nice one. Well done, Josh. And well done, Benji, too, by extension. We'll be in touch and get that special prize to you both. And can I just say the competition was very tough. A huge thank you to all the Squiz kids who sent in questions. We had so many questions from all over the country. Every single one of them was excellent, hugely appreciated. We would have loved to have used all of them, but we just ran out of time. Thank you, Josh, for taking time to chat to us today.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And remember, folks, the Squiz Kids podcast, a daily fix of kid-appropriate news, is out at 7 a.m. every morning via the Squiz Kids website, www.squizkids.com.au, or wherever you find your podcasts. This is Bryce Corbett signing off. And Josh, would you please do the honours?
Now get out there and have a most excellent day.
Nice one. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.